Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. It is BST and we are back. It's been 2 years since my last upload and I am finally back. I'm going to update you guys on life, what's been going on, where you've been, stuff like that. But I also want to talk about the Phillies. The hot stove has heated up so much. Garrett Crochet was just traded. Juan Soto just signed with the Mets. Phillies need to wake up. Let's get into this one. So, welcome back. It has been over 2 years since my last upload, and I am finally back. I'm gonna try to upload more daily now, and I just wanted to come back. I love talking about sports, and this is the place to do it, man. Everyone was so welcoming in the community from when I first started, and hopefully I can try to rebuild the channel to where it was before, and even make it better and better, as you guys see now with the webcam. But I'm just gonna start try to upload as much as I can and just voice my thoughts about sports. You can expect more play-by-plays because I love broadcasting and that's one of the main things I came back for. Predictions, stuff like that. I was pretty active on the Twitter throughout my whole hiatus. So we're back, and today we are talking about the Phillies, and I thought this would be a great way to jump right back in because it is the MLB offseason, and the hot stove is heating up. Juan Soto to the Mets. Garrett Crochet was just traded to the Red Sox today for Kyle Teel, Braden Montgomery, and a few other prospects. But the hot stove is just it's on fire right now. It's never been more hot, and the Phillies need to get in on the action. They signed Jordan Romano, but that's not going to cut it if you're Dave Dombrowski. And as you can tell by the thumbnail of this video, I don't like Brandon Marsh on this team. I don't like Alec Bohm on this team. I think Dave Dombrowski is a little hesitant with his moves. He thinks that the team is perfect regardless of the aspects, but it's not. And that's the truth. It really is not that perfect. And he needs to understand that. He needs to wake up and come to his senses and realize we're an aging team. Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT, Wheeler, Schwarber, they are all aging. And we have not a lot of young on this team. We have a lot of prospects: Crawford, Sterling Kaba, Andrew Painter, Micah Bell, all those guys that have been talked about for the past 3 years, but are yet to touch the MLB field. And in this position that the Phillies are in what Dave Dombrowski has specifically talked about, we are in a win now position. But the way he manages and does his moves does not make me feel that way. One, we are an aging team, like I just said. And signing Jordan Romano he's 31, I believe, he's coming off an injury. And last season he didn't really do that much in his 15 games played. Year before that he was an All-Star, two-time All-Star guy, 2022 and 2023. So I mean, there's upside there, but at the same time, you have to counter more. You're losing Carlos Estevez, you're losing Jeff Hoffman, and they're not going to re-sign them for some reason because they're going to get a lot more money elsewhere where they can win. The Phillies have not won since that 2022 NLCS appearance where they won. They beat the Padres. Bryce Harper hit that go-ahead shot. They went to the World Series. They showed that Cinderella run was going to end there. Astros were a much better team, and since then the decline has you've seen it, and we knew that was going to happen. Players were getting older, but we everyone thought we were going to get better. We signed Trey Turner, 10-year, $300 million contract, and so far he has done nothing. We gave him the standing ovation 2 years ago. He started to heat up. Maybe we got to do that again. But he hasn't done anything for this team, and something needs to change. And I look at the corner infields. I see Bryce Harper there, and Bryce Harper's by far our best player. There's no arguing it. And he's the franchise piece. He came to Philly because he wanted to win championships. He walked away from the Nationals, who were a great organization at the time, came to us, we gave him the money, and he's only devoted his heart to this place and talked about how good of a city Philly is. So we need to wake up and finally do something about it. Alec Bohm is a great third baseman in my mind. I think the potential is there for him. I think he could really be a top 10 third baseman in the league in a year or two. But at the same time, he's not helping this win now. He hit very well the first two-thirds of the season, and where it mattered most, he just came up short. Strikeout after strikeout, ground out after ground out. And same thing with Brandon Marsh, because we need an everyday left fielder, and Brandon Marsh is not that guy. Him and Rojas were splitting in center. They figured it out. They want to give Rojas the job. I'm not opposed to Johan Rojas. The hitting has gotten better. He's a good good fielder. If that's going to be our 9-hole hitter, I'm okay with it. But you need a left fielder. We need a guy that can hit the ball. And a person who instantly comes to mind is Taylor Ward, who the Angels don't seem like they want a lot from, as he's been on the trade market even since last year before the deadline. So I think you need to go ahead and get him if I'm the Phillies. Don't trade too much and keep Brandon Marsh as your bench piece maybe, but I don't really see why he should be the everyday left fielder. And he hits maybe a homer every 3 games or so. He goes 1 for 3. I mean, he's a decent player, don't get me wrong, but we need better if we're in a win now situation. And Garrett Crochet just got traded to the Red Sox. They gave him Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery, so you can see what the White Sox really wanted out of that deal, as they are to complete rebuild. And Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert are gonna go. Crochet already went, as the Phillies were in intensive trade talks with that. They were the center of that. All right, everybody knew that they were gonna be in the trade talks, even up until last year's trade deadline, and you saw what they wanted. They gave him two very good prospects, Kyle Teal and Brady Montgomery, two first-round picks, and the Phillies had it right there. They could have gave him Sterling Kaba, Justin Crawford, not Andrew. They wouldn't trade him. Maybe Mika Bell with it, and then you throw in like a Brandon Marsh type of guy or somebody who's going to counter that. Is what you need to do to get Garrett Crochet and complete this rotation. You need that fifth guy in the rotation. Through the last 3 months of the season, they didn't have one. Spencer Turnbull was very good in the beginning of the season, but he got hurt. And I think they need to bring him back personally in the bullpen if you need another bullpen arm. And another guy I think they need to target is Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez was a very, very good reliever the past 2 seasons with the Padres and the Reds, and he's gonna get over 10 mil. He's gonna get over 10 mil a year. But I really do think the Phillies need to give it to him because we need to get another reliever to bolster this bullpen. Kerkering, Strom, Jordan Romano now, and maybe Alvarado's not gonna cut it when it comes to the postseason. And we've had too many strings of relievers that have just not worked out for us. Gregory Soto, Corey Knebel, the list goes on, right? So I think when you're the Eagles, you have three main things you need to do. And I posted this on Twitter too. And go check that out too, by the way. But you have three main things you need to do. You need to bolster the bullpen. And not to mention, JT Realmuto he's 34 this year, right? Not saying we need to look at catchers yet. I think he's still got a year in him, but you really need to explore that. Garrett Stubbs is an okay backup catcher. Are you going to develop them, though? Are you going to actually get him? He's got to bulk up. He's a 170-pound guy. He's like 5'11". He's not going to be the everyday guy come in the future. By the way, I'm just going position by position. But then when you go to the middle infield, Stott and Turner are got to stay here. They got to be the guys. Stott struggled, but at the end of the season he picked it up, and I can't really blame him for much at the end of the season, other than he played well. He's a good defender too, Gold Glove caliber. And Trey Turner at the end of the day still a top 10 shortstop in baseball, but with all these prospects, all these guys, Bobby Witt, Volpe, all these dudes that are just coming up and becoming better and better. Gunnar Henderson, I know he plays some third. But we need to really get Trey Turner this season to actually hit the ball, okay? We cannot have another season where he's 20 homers, like 80 RBIs, like a 270 average. I know he's dealing with injuries. He was doing good. And don't get me wrong, Mundo Sosa was a very good backup for him. And I honestly wouldn't even mind him being on the team next year because he's a good backup fielder when you have Stott facing a pitcher that he's not really good against. And if Trey Turner just needs some rest, you need Sosa on this team. But Alec Bohm is my struggle. And I really think that they can get some good value for Alec Bohm. I mean, I really think that you can maybe even get some more pitching with him. And I think to replace him, I don't think you trade for Nolan Arenado. I know he put us on his wish list, but you don't want him. He's 34, he's rapidly declining. The Cardinals are going to want a lot for him. Ideally, he's just not the right piece for us. He's just not. And that's just the issue we have to face. He's not for us. Dave Dombrowski's not going to trade for him. And Rob Thompson said that Alec Bohm's staying right where he is, right? So you need to figure out something if you're the Phillies, and I hope that Dave Dombrowski will realize that Bohm is not going to be the guy for us. And people could argue that. Bohm's a good hitter. He's young. He's developing. People could argue that. But in this current state that the Phillies are in, he doesn't come up when they need him. And Rob Thompson had him in the 4-hole in big games. I mean, he's that cleanup guy. He needs to get the ball in play. He needs to get doubles, singles, homers. He needs to drive in the runs, which he wasn't doing towards the end of the season, which isn't going to cut it if I'm Dave Dombrowski in that organization, right? And then you go to the outfield. Nick Castellanos was the best hitter the second half of the season in baseball numbers wise. He was one of the best, and I can't complain. I mean, a lot of guys want to put the blame on him, but he was one of the best guys, and you can't complain about him. He has 2 years left in his contract. I think he's going to be great to end his career with us, and I really hope that he's one of the core pieces that will push us to that World Series caliber. And you need to figure out the center and left fielders. Rojas and Marsh are not great hitters, right? They can put the ball in play, but they're not great hitters. Rojas is a good fielder. I want to keep Rojas at our 9 spot, but Brandon Marsh, I really want Taylor Ward on this team. Whatever it takes to get him. Don't give up too much, though, but get Taylor Ward on this team. He's a good hitter, he's a good enough fielder, and he provides the spark that they need. And I also wouldn't be opposed to having Jesse Winker on this team either. He was just with the Mets, he was a good hitter, and he's that cheap guy that the Mets bought in, and he helped them get to the NLCS with that roster, right? And not to mention the Mets, speaking of the Mets, are one of the best teams in the league now with Juan Soto, which just automatically makes him there. Obviously, they're going to lose Pete Alonso. If they sign him back, I'd be so surprised, and that's a great, great team that they've got there. If they do, it's still great. It still is great. But you need to counter them. You need to make a response, okay? Because the guys are flying off the board fast. Alex Bregman is a guy that the Phillies could go after, but if they're settling on Alec Boehm, it's not even worth the argument there because Rob Thompson came on MLB Network and he was like, we are not trading Alec Boehm, but you need to trade Alec Boehm if you want to win, in my opinion. Starting pitching wise, I think the rotation is good for now. That Nola contract seems to be a steal after you saw what Max Fried got, 8 years, $218 million to the Yankees. So the Nola situation was working well. He's still he's a consistent good pitcher for us, and he will be for the rest of his career. Wheeler's got another good 2 years in him, in my opinion. I mean, you saw what Chris Sale did at 37 years old with the Braves. So you really need to kind of counter these teams. Jake Berger was just traded from the Marlins. The Marlins are in tank mode now. So every team is seemingly getting better except us. So we really need to get something going here. Whether that be we go ahead and get Roki Sasaki, who I'm sure is going to get like $200 million from the Dodgers. I bet so much money. I think that guy could be a target for us if we can bolster a fifth guy in this rotation alongside Suarez, Sanchez, Wheeler, and Nola. If that's the guy, that's perfect for us. We just need 3 more valuable signings and get those platoon utility guys, the cheap guys, Jesse Winker. Speaking of Jose Iglesias, guys like that who can hit the ball, they can field, they're going to be there if you need them, and they're going to be cheap and come up big in big moments. We don't need a guy like Alec Boehm who is literally just going to swing and miss, three strikes, 2 balls, 2 outs, bases loaded, down 3-0. That's just not, it's not going to work for us, right? So if there's one thing you can take away from this video, and there's one thing I really expressed, the 3 main key points here. Go ahead and get yourself 1 or 2 more good bullpen guys, preferably Nick Martinez. 2, fix that left field and third base issues. Get those set in stone dudes. And 3, just sign the cheap utility guys that are going to come up big with us. This is a new era of BST, and I'm so excited for you guys to come along with this journey with me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like button. You can expect an Eagles video coming in the next few days as they are heating up as well. But the Phillies need to get their shit together. Let's go. Ring the bell.